Senator, thanks for joining us. You recently laid out your energy plan, and you talked about reducing carbon emissions by 80% by 2050. And I'm wondering, it's a very bold plan. What led you to this decision, and could you talk a little bit about it?
Well, everyone talks about what we all want. I mean, that is to be less dependent upon the Middle East, cleaner technologies, really make some headway against the threats of global warming, healthcare issues, national security issues, competitiveness issues. We all talk about those things. But you've got to go more than beyond the talk. How are you going to do it? If you're going to be the President of the United States, I want to know what steps you're going to take that will allow us to get there and to insist we get there. And it seems to me there is where the differences are. I'm the only candidate that's called for a corporate carbon tax because I know of no other way that we're going to deal with promoting these alternatives unless we make it less competitive for us to depend upon fossil fuels. Right now, the last great barrier, in my view, to moving away from fossil fuels, from these emitting, polluting technologies, is price. That a family out there working hard, struggling hard to hold its family together, would love to be able to, in my view, have the options of relying on cleaner technologies. But they can't always afford to do that because of price differentials. So until we make it slightly more expensive to depend upon fossil fuels and a lot less expensive to deal with the alternatives that technology can provide, that conservation and efficiencies can provide, then I think it's going to be impossible to get there. So all the talk about achieving it also requires you stand up and tell me how. And I know of no other way, given the elasticity and the price of oil, that allows it always to be cheaper, just getting cheaper than the latest technologies. So let's make that a bit more expensive. Let's make the other technologies more affordable by investing, using the money from that tax to invest in the technologies and laboratories and universities to develop them quickly and then provide the financial support for families out there that want to move in that direction. If you want to buy a hybrid, it just shouldn't be on how wealthy you are to do it. That ought not to determine whether or not you're a green family or not. So I want to provide the kind of tax breaks as well as investing in the technologies that allow us to get there and provide, by the way, resources and support for companies that are polluting today that want to transfer away but need some help in doing so. I happen to believe that a lot of companies would like to do the right thing and move in the right direction, but they need some help in doing that. So this allows us to really get there by also increasing, as I say, the mileage per gallon standards to 50 miles per gallon, which I believe we could do. I say by 2017, I even think you might even move that along more quickly. We're producing automobiles today for Brazil that operate on ethanol entirely. Why can't we produce them as dramatically for the market here? I think we can do that. As president, I would insist upon it. That's leadership. That's bringing people together. It's being optimistic and confident about the future. Today we talk about energy as a problem. I see it as an incredible opportunity to deal with national security by reducing our dependency on the fragile part of the world. I see it as a way of assisting our health, our environment, our competitiveness by producing new jobs and new technologies in the 21st century. So this is and there's more to it, but this is the basic thrust of what I'm suggesting.
One quick follow-up to that. You've estimated that you figure about $50 billion a year would come from this tax. How would you see that money being spent? Who in the government would be in charge of it? How would it work?
That's a low number, by the way. I use that number, at least 50 billion. Others have suggested it could be double that number. And my view of this would be, and I haven't settled on exactly how it would work, but a lot of it I say I want to invest in the technologies, in the laboratories, universities, to assist us in expanding these opportunities. Not insisting on one over the other, by the way. I see a lot of opportunities in the farmlands, obviously, with biofuels and ethanol that can be there. I see it in the West, where geothermal energy can play a great role. In the Gulf states, where ocean thermal gradients may be the case. In wind power that exists in the West, and even in parts of the Midwest, where that technology can be used. So I would be using those dollars to invest in expanding those ideas and providing the support. That can be done through the Department of Energy. It could be done through various other federal agencies. The revenue source coming in, we dedicated maybe a special place where the revenues would come and then dispersed it so that we make sure those dollars actually were maximized in these efforts. And then, of course, saving part of those resources for people to get the kind of financial tax breaks that they need to have to make these alternative energies competitive. And that would be the incentive to people. We're paying $300 billion a year to countries that are hostile to the United States to buy energy. That's a tax. We're paying an awful tax today. I'm talking about a revenue source of maybe $50 or $100 billion, a third of what we presently pay going offshore. Wouldn't you rather pay to have that done at home and use at home than paying some government many of whom, by the way, are supporting the terrorists that were fighting in Iraq today. It seems to me this idea has a lot of appeal on almost every single level.
Switching to the war in Iraq, you've called for troops, American troops, coming out of Iraq by March of 2008.
Right.
And you're far ahead of many other of the Democratic candidates for president that are running. What is the difference? Why Dennis Kucinich, who I covered a couple weeks ago here in New Hampshire, is calling to withdraw all the troops immediately, cut off funding for the war? What is the problem with that you see? Why would you not call for that?
Well, because you can't do it. Practically you can't, even if you wanted to. I mean, the census here, you've got 140,000 people on the ground, not to mention a lot of other people who are there beyond the troops. And so just as a practical matter in redeployment, it takes time to do that, to do it securely and do it safely. And also there's a period of time here of transition so that you make sure that the Iraqis, to the extent possible, are militarily capable of doing a job that we'd like to see them be able to do, that you provide the training for police. These are functions that could still be ongoing over the next year, as well as border security issues and the like. So in addition to the practicalities of getting troops redeployed within and outside of Iraq, there's also some functions that can be performed here that would allow Iraq to have the chance, if they want, by the way, and this is up to them, to have a stable government at the conclusion of this period of time.
So you think March of 2008 is the most responsible time to
It does. It allows you to bring a closure to this and do it in a way that guarantees the protection of our people on the ground and fulfills some additional functions they can perform.
Okay. Here in New Hampshire, you've been going around the state and you've been holding some kitchen table conversations. What have you been seeing? What have you been learning? Who have you been talking to? What are their concerns?
Well, it's a great way to get to know a community and for them to get to know you. And I've done this in Iowa, done it here, done it in Nevada as well, and it's a wonderful way for them to hear what my ideas are, but also for me to listen to theirs. And today, for instance, we were talking about energy here in Nashua, New Hampshire, and I got some good additional ideas that came out of the conversation. People who are very, very knowledgeable about the subject matter. Some of them have spent a lot of years working at these issues and bring a wealth of information about other means by which we can achieve more rapidly an independent and energy independent country that's also one that's leading the way on avoiding the terrible problems associated with climate change. So energy ideas are the ones that came out of that Nashua conversation this morning.
Do you feel good? Are you feeling like you're getting some traction here in New Hampshire?
I think so too. And people begin to pay more attention as they do. They want to hear from other candidates. They haven't bought into the notion that the candidate with the highest name recognition and the most money is necessarily the candidate they want to support. And I think the jury's still out, and they want to hear from people like me. The people who do are very encouraging, have asked me to come back, telling me they're giving me serious consideration. That's how people in New Hampshire conduct themselves and have over many, many years of having watched other campaigns. The last thing they want to have happen is be told by some outsiders what their choice is going to be. They'll make that decision themselves.
And one final question I ask all the candidates, in the spirit of bipartisanship, would you say something nice about one of your opponents? Take your pick.
Well, I said nice about all of them. I have a good relationship with them. Joe Biden and I have sat together for 26 years on the Foreign Relations Committee. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton are friends of ours, and I've worked with him. I was the Democratic chairman for his re-election in '95 and '96. John Edwards and I served in the Senate together. Bill Richardson's a terrific person and done a wonderful job in a number of areas as well. And obviously the other candidates out there, the less well-known candidates, Barack Obama, I'm relatively new knowing about him. He's just been in the Senate a few years, but I think he's a very bright person and a very talented individual. So I have good things to say about people. This isn't about being against. Any one of these people would be a better president than the one we've had. I just think I could be the best candidate for our country and would do the best job for our country if given the chance to lead.
Senator, thank you for your time very much.
Thank you.